The difference between just knowing and truly knowing, Saadi explains this in his tale. It is said that the king of Cairo, eager for respite from the sweltering palace, embarked on a journey along the Nile. He was accompanied by his courtiers and slaves, one of whom had never before experienced the gentle rocking of a boat. Terror gripped the slave's heart as he imagined the cold depths claiming him, his cries echoing across the water. The king, a man of stern temperament, grew increasingly irritated by the slave's wailing. "Silence," he commanded. Among the king's entourage was a wise man. Observing the slave's distress, he approached the king and said, "Your Majesty, with your permission, I believe I can alleviate this man's fear." Intrigued, the king granted his consent. The wise man then instructed the other slaves to seize the frightened man and cast him into the river. With a splash, the slave was submerged in the murky waters, his cries abruptly cut short, a stark contrast to his imagined terrors. After several agonizing moments, the wise man signaled for the slave to be pulled back onto the boat. Gasping for breath, he clung to the edge, his terror replaced by a newfound appreciation for the solid deck beneath his feet. The king, perplexed by this turn of events, inquired, "What wisdom lies in throwing a frightened man into the river, only to rescue him moments later?" The wise man smiled and replied, "Your Majesty, this slave had never known the hardship of the river, and thus could not truly appreciate the safety of the boat. Now, having experienced both, he understands the value of each. We often take our blessings for granted, failing to recognize their worth until we have tasted adversity." The king nodded, the wise man's words striking a chord within him. As they sailed, the king's thoughts turned to his courtiers, their eloquent speeches now ringing hollow. They spoke of grand ideals, yet their understanding was as shallow as a desert puddle, for they had never truly tasted adversity. The wise man's lesson resonated. True wisdom lay not in lofty words, but in understanding forged through experience. It was the ability to see the world from both the throne and the gutter, to grasp the worth of both privilege and hardship. For the chasm between knowing this truth and ignoring it was as vast as that between heaven and hell, one leading to enlightenment and the other to a hollow existence.